Going to announce, among other things, this new crackdown on illegals, a better vetting process here that would be appeal-proof, or so they are hoping. All of this at a time the president's approval numbers are in and out of the 40s. One has, Rasmussen has them up at 55. Fact of the matter is, 50 or better, I should say. But kind of all over the map here. To Politico's Anna Palmer on whether President Trump really cares about that. He's very good, Anna, to your point, and then you write quite a bit on this, about appealing to his base, reaching out to his base, and gets energized going out to his base. Is he moving the needle beyond his base?
I think what we're seeing right now, you mentioned the polls in the 40s 1 month in, is very low compared to most presidents. Usually their approval rating is in the 60s, according to the Gallup polls. So he certainly is continuing to appeal. What he's doing today with the immigration order, what we're all expecting to see, is another nod toward kind of really that red meat to fire up his base. So
how does that improve the overall numbers? Now, maybe if it looks like you're delivering on your promises, and say what you will of the guy, I mean, he's doing everything he said he would do. Now, some people are shocked at that, but he is doing everything he said he would do. I guess the jury's out as to whether that's making him more popular, less popular compared to prior residents of the Oval Office, maybe less. But where do you see this ending up? I mean, as I was mentioning before with my guests here, the markets are soaring on the belief that he's going to deliver the goods on big tax cuts, regulatory relief, and repealing and replacing what they hope will be a cheaper health care plan. What do you think?
I mean, I think what you're seeing here, just like the markets are reacting, his base is excited that he is actually doing some of those things that he said, the wall with Mexico, trying to look at what's happening with Obamacare, potentially a tax cut. But if he fails, and that is a big if, in terms of what's going to happen with Congress, you're already seeing some hesitation on Obamacare repeal, with Republicans going out in this congressional recess and hearing from their constituents that they are concerned about what happens with a repeal and a replacing. If Trump is not able to do that and deliver the goods, I think you could see that base of his, that strong support, really start to wobble a bit.
You know, and this battle that he's had on and off with the press, we might see more manifestations of that with Sean Spicer. But how is that going? I mean, I don't see it ending well. You know, he is deemed thin-skinned, and the media and their response, they seem thin-skinned. But they're going at each other nonstop. I mean, just by sheer energy level alone, I can't see this going on each day, every day, all days here. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, every day here feels like a week, right, in terms of the news cycle. What's happening at 6 a.m. when Trump is tweeting to what is the news cycle at noon is very different. But I actually think Trump gets energy off of this. It's a strategy
I agree with that.
He used
I definitely agree with that.
During the campaign. I think it's something he likes. It goes back to the 1980s and kind of New York tabloid journalism and him kind of having something to punch up to. So it's hard to see him stop that because he clearly enjoys it. Otherwise, I don't think you'd see him do it over and over again.
You know, one of the things he says is that, and he's sometimes called when he uses faulty data himself, but he likes to point out that the vast majority of stories on him are always negative, that they'll focus on the things that are bad, not the things that are good. I mentioned the market soaring and that very scant attention to that in the press. He'll also point out all the CEOs with whom he's met, including the head of Intel, who announces this multi-billion-dollar expansion, hiring thousands of workers, and he doesn't get boo from the media. So that's what he keeps pounding, and even in his last press conference, that's what he led with for a good half hour before he entertained his first question. What do you make of that strategy?
I mean, I take a little issue with that. I think there has been coverage of the soaring markets. I think there has been coverage of him not only kind of demanding that the press is there when he meets with these CEOs, which is pretty unprecedented, right? There's not a lot of news happening except for him introducing who he's meeting with, and then the press is kind of shuttled out for him to have the actual meeting. So I do take a little bit of issue with that. I think that this is his way of using the bully pulpit, whether it's Twitter, whether it's these press conferences. It's his way of trying to get the news out that he wants people to hear about. I do think that he's taking credit for.
Well, what is the strategy of that? Because I was trying to factor this out, saying, well, even if you believe that, and there are many, certainly conservatives who espouse that, then are you trying to say that every story that's written of you, the negative story, you're giving reporters pause because there's hell to pay if they do, and that all they'll ask are nice questions? I mean, that seems to be the goal, and I'm not politicizing it, I'm saying without just getting to that maybe, is that what he wants, and is that what the media you might feel that it has to do?
I think the media is doing some fact-checking on what Donald Trump says, right? Whether it's the faulty data or whether it's taking credit for jobs that were already in the pipeline for a lot of these companies and some of the deals that were already done before he took office. I think that it's something that, he wants to be a job creator. And so anytime he can highlight that, that is something that he's going to go to. He's going to be able to say, look, I did this, whether or not he's actually responsible for it.
But does it work when presidents do that? They go over the heads of the people, or they try to reach the people, or they try to pursue legislation with... John Kennedy did this with tax cut legislation to try to go over the heads of Congress to try to reach the American people. Ironically, those tax cuts went into effect after he died. But my point is that does that strategy of targeting the press that has lower ratings than he does that work? That he is actually sly like a fox with this? What do you think?
I think that this plays right to the base. This goes into what we were talking about before in terms of his approval ratings and how strong they are with the people that have supported him through the campaign. But he's got to widen
that base, right? Right?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a tricky test, right? And as far as what's happening in the Senate, and he's going to need a lot of Republican senators who are waffling a bit in terms of what he's done so far in this, who are looking at their own approval ratings and their own re-elections. And so that is where I think the proof is in the pudding for, does this strategy work for Trump? He hasn't pivoted away from it, so clearly he thinks that it works. But I think we, should talk in a couple weeks, a couple months, and see, does this actually have any impact or not?
Anna, he has always claimed, I'll indulge this just because this briefing will start soon, I guess, but he has always claimed that he doesn't get adequate credit and that the media has a nerve to call him thin-skinned when they go apoplectic when he targets them, saying that he's mentally unstable and all of that. Does that resonate with folks back home? Because he says the same people judging him now are the same people who didn't think he'd even make it within 100 miles of the White House, and yet here he is in the White House. So when they pounce on approval numbers and the like, they're missing it again. They're missing something again. What do you think?
I think there's skepticism when you go out in the Midwest, when you go outside of the Beltway, in terms of how does the mainstream media or the media in general cover politics, how does it cover Trump. And so I think as far as that strategy goes, it plays right into the hand of what he wants to do. When he goes out to those rallies like he did last week, that is a case where he wants to just have the bully pulpit and be able to kind of bring his message toward the masses. And kind of saying fake news or criticizing the press is one of the many things that he goes back to time and again, because I think he feels like it energizes not only him, but it energizes his base.
Yeah, because he genuinely does hate the press. Last thought, the markets I mentioned, Anna, before, racing ahead. I'm the resident nerd here at Fox, so I focus on them, maybe disproportionately. Do you think they're getting ahead of themselves? I don't mean to sound like a bear or rain on a party, but they seem to be betting on massive tax cuts, that it's all going to happen, that Republicans will unite on them sooner rather than later. They might even be retroactive to January 1. Those are a lot of very generous assumptions, but on which almost all prominent investors agree. Are they ahead of themselves?
I think we write every morning on Playbook trying to decode Washington for everyone else, and I think the optimism is a little bit putting the cart before the horse here. Congress is a slow-moving body. You're already seeing on tax reform House Republicans waffle about the border adjustment tax, which is a key piece of Speaker Paul Ryan's package. Without it, it's hard to see how they're going to be able to pay for all of these things. So certainly, it's going to be a much tougher road to hoe than I think a lot of the markets are showing right now.
Well, you have your playbook. I have my nerd book. So I'll out-nerd your playbook. How's that? Anna Palmer,
all right.
Thank you very much.